Well, my guest is one of the biggest names in open fire cooking. We're talking competition barbecue, teaching, video content with his YouTube channel, his product line, and so forth. He's one of the nicest people we've met in the barbecue world as well. From Los Angeles, California. My honor to welcome Harry Soo, Slap Your Daddy Barbecue, back to the Tailgate Guys Barbecue Show. Harry, thank you so much for your time. Good to see you again.
Hey, Lyndall, always a pleasure to see you again and happy to be on your podcast.
Harry, I understand you've been getting an unusual amount of rain. You and the folks in Southern California, mudslides, all kinds of stuff. Hope things have been okay for you, but how's that affected the world out there?
I date myself when I say that there was a song before that said it never rains in Southern California. That's a lie. I guess, you really can't ignore the climate change that's happening as we speak, as you watch the news and see what's happening in America and around the world. That definitely the climate has kind of, changed for many people around the world.
Well, Harry, tell me about your 2024 so far. I know you recently were in Malaysia. How was your trip and what were some of the highlights?
Oh wow, I have been on a tear. I think last year was a crazy year with 55 gigs. Now, for those of your listeners who are not aware, I did retire from my day job. So I in my am in my second year of retirement, but I've been blessed that I've been really busy on my barbecue chapter of my life. I left 3 decades building data centers in Los Angeles. So I left that career behind. I thought I would kind of settle into obscurity in the barbecue arena, but it's just absolutely been wonderful. I've been traveling around the world. In fact, I just taught a class yesterday. Before that, I was in Panama. A few months ago, I was back in Dallas as one of the master judges for the World Food Championships, and this journey just keeps going on and on and on. So I just am very blessed and fortunate that somehow people really love American barbecue, and they've been booking me for gigs around the world. I did the one in Cologne, Germany last year. I headlined the American Pitmaster series and was able to tantalize a lot of people who were crazy about American barbecue. And their events in Germany are much larger than what we have here. They have like 30,000 people that go to their barbecue events. So it's huge. And when you're talking to people, you're talking to 1,000 people at a time. So you can imagine the frantic efforts to try to cook samples for so many different people.
So you're building databases for the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California for what 3 decades. Cooking barbecue in your spare time back in those days. How busy was life when you were working for a living in addition to trying to do barbecue?
I think it was kind of a good transition for me. It was really hectic trying to hold down two separate careers, but since I retired a couple of years ago, I've actually been able to devote more time to my passion, which is barbecue and barbecue philanthropy. In addition to slapyourdaddybbq.com, which everybody knows me for, I was able to spawn last year also what do you call it, a training company where I go around the country with one of my partners who's a TED speaker, Nick Kittle, and we put it on different micro conferences, 2 day micro conferences where I run the mock barbecue contest and Nick runs kind of the team building portion. And we train high performance teams in government agencies around the country. So we formed a company called BeyondTheSmoke.net to bring that unique kind of micro conference training for things like total quality management, team building, project management, and so on. So that has actually taken off. And last month I formed another company because my buddy John Falconberry, he wanted to make a grill, and he sent me the blueprint, and I looked over it, and I cooked on a prototype, and I had a series of complaints that I gave to John, and he took my 17 complaints and had then fixed. And I cooked on a prototype again, and I thought, wow, that is a really good piece of equipment, and I decided I'll help John kind of launch his company also.
Well, so is that on the market yet? Is that new grill on the market?
Yeah, you can go to primalgrillsusa.com and you can take a look at it. In fact, I just posted a social media post of John showing people how to load it. For those of you who are not aware, I'm a confessed inner pyromaniac, and I just like to cook over live fire. I've been doing barbecue for professionally for 15 years. And it's great to be able to cook a brisket in a smoker, but something about smoking doesn't involve what I call a live fire unless you're cooking on an offset. Most of the time when you cook barbecue, it's kind of, you see smoke coming out of the chimney. But I'm one of those people, I like the flaming fire, and I just really feel energized and joyful when I can cook over live fire. I had the opportunity to cook over live fire in places like Mexico, where we do the whole pig, and the what do you call the lamb cabritos on an open rack over open fire, where you actually have to shovel the coals. So I really feel that that form of barbecue is underappreciated around the world. So when John gave me the opportunity to try out his grill, I said, this is really fun. I need one in my backyard. So the only one way I could get a free one was to help him sell some.
So is it a charcoal smoker, or is
It
it
burns
a
wood, and it's basically like an Argentinian style Santa Maria grill. And since I'm from California, that type of grill is extremely common. Essentially, what you get is you have a rectangular box, and you have a wheel that lowers and raises the cooking rates.
so people can see it at find out info about it at primalgrillsusa.com. How would you is it a versatile type of cooking device? Can cook just about anything on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the initial testing I did, it can do things like that my grill can do. It can cook what I call caveman mode, where the meat is right onto the coals. Then you can cook it at a grilling height. You can also cook at a roasting height, and you can cook it at a smoking height. So there's 4 different cooking modes available, and then within those 4 different cooking modes, you can cook it direct or indirect. So it's pretty versatile. And of course, I wouldn't want to try to cook a brisket on it, but for most of the other things that I enjoy doing, it works really, really well.
People might wonder, as much as you cook, as many years as you've cooked, what's your backyard look like? What does your cooking area outdoors look like at home?
I have a tiny postage stamped lot in Los Angeles. So obviously we're not going to get a half-acre lot out here, but within my backyard, it's crammed with something like 22 different smokers in various sizes and footprints, scattered in my garage, scattered on the side of the house, scattered in my backyard. So I'm a confessed pitmaster addict. I enjoy cooking on various pieces of equipment.
If you want to do a brisket just for fun, what kind of grill will you fire that up on? You're just a traditional offset?
I don't have a traditional offset because I would love a 1,000-gallon trailer in my backyard, but I can't fit it. So, in the past, my immediate answer to you would be to cook the brisket on a Weber Smoky Mountain, because that's how I won many of my awards, including First Place USA. But now, as I get older, I have to admit I am getting more process efficient, aka lazy. So I find that I can tease a competition result using my pellet cookers. And I have several pellet cookers from Green Mountain and Weber and so on. So I am getting old and lazy. So I enjoy actually cooking on a pellet, because I can cook it kind of unattended versus trying to keep the fire going on a normal pit, or like an offset, or even a Kamado or a Weber Smoky Mountain.
Pellet cookers seem to be a very uh, great way for people who want to get involved in barbecuing in their backyard, cooking in their backyard, and they don't want to spend all day tending a fire. Is that what you would recommend to people to look into if they want to get into this? Is checking out the pellets?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer is that cook with the method that gives you most joy. Some people receive joy by loading the wood in a burn barrel, burning the wood to embers, taking a shovel and moving the embers from the burn barrel onto their pit. And if that's your way of receiving joy, please don't change. Keep doing it. I love Tootsie Tomanes in Snow's Barbecue in Texas, where she does that. For those people who are what I call the other opposite end of the pendulum, swinging over to the techno weenie people who want to cook the entire cook using artificial intelligence, downloading Harry Sue's recipe, cooking on their cell phone, that's also good. So there's a wide range of options today in terms of equipment. the level of automation, the level of personal skill versus what I call downloaded skill that you can do. It's quite actually amazing to see the progression in the cooking technology in terms of temperature, fire management, and so on over the past few years, especially in the area of pellet cookers. And we've seen quite a few new pellet cookers that even now the Komodos have their own automated blower system. So it's a free for all. I always tell people cook with the pit that gives you most joy, and there's no right and there's no wrong.
Do you utilize a lot of the new technology?
I tend to be more of a kind of a manual person. Once I set the temperature, I pretty much have everything dialed in. So I try not to, kind of get into the weeds with Wi-Fi and all the other things. I actually left technology after spending 30 plus years in it. And I'm trying to go back to old school. And, technology is great, but you need electricity. That's why I really like that new Primal grill because it's all primal and hands-on. You got to be there to tend the fire. And because I tend to do more grilling nowadays, I don't have to tend the pit for 10, 12 hours at a time. So for me, grilling is a lot more fun. There's so many more things you can grill than you can cook low and slow barbecue. It opens up the whole possibility of cooking birds, different kinds of birds, and the plethora of seafood that you can cook, plethora of vegetables that you can cook on the grill, which can be really, really tasty. So I'm in the process of rediscovering my roots, which when I started back in Texas Tech 40 years ago, I cooked over a Weber kettle, over that live flame to see the char and to get that sizzle and that smokiness. And I think that I've done barbecue long enough that I really want to go back and do some more grilling.
People ask often a great basic grill to start on. And if I always tell them, if you want to learn how to manage fire, the Weber kettle, that's just, if you can learn to cook on a Weber kettle, that's a great baseline, isn't it, to get started?
Absolutely. That's my singular most common recommendation. If you're starting off, don't go spend $10,000 to go buy yourself the world's greatest smoker. Just buy a Weber kettle for a couple $100, right? And even get the nice one with the table on the side, and you will be happy, happy, happy. Once
Yeah.
you kind of master that, you can cook pretty much anything on the Weber kettle. There are many accessories, sear and flow and so on that you can kind of buy to make it a smoker. So a Weber kettle is a great place to start. And if you really want to start on a smoker that's manual, pick the Weber Smoky Mountain. Those two things you cannot go wrong.
And then you can dive off into the spend a lot of money on other stuff as you if you
Yeah,
really want
I
to.
have friends of mine who spend $5,000 on their pit, and it's just the paint job.
Yes, yes, indeed. And how was your trip to Malaysia? Is open fire cooking? How popular is it over there?
I was able to do some cooking. I went to visit my parents, and it was more of a family vacation trip. My dad is 91, my mom is 90, so I'm very blessed that my parents are still around. They're still fully alert and fighting like dogs and cats. So that's a good sign. I'm interpreting that cognitively they are spot on. I mean, and it was great to be there. We in the Chinese culture we have this tradition of Chinese New Year where the entire clan has to come back and have dinner. And it was great to have that opportunity. Now that I'm retired, I can travel a little bit more easier. I don't have to worry about trying to use up my vacation days. So it was a blessing to be able to spend time with family.
When you travel overseas, when you travel in the States, do people automatically expect you to do a lot of the cooking because you're the guy known for this?
I have been, really fortunate to be able to kind of cook in many different locations last year and even this year. I think I just finished booking all my flights to teach the Weber Masterclass in Chicago. And after that, I got to fly over to Fargo, North Dakota, and then do another brisket class. My students last year at the Shields University, they won both the Grand Championship and they won the People's Choice. So I'm so proud of my students because I get to spend a day with a new team and train them from scratch against some of the top 20 pitmasters in the country. And we all descend upon this town called Fargo, North Dakota, as part of the Shields store. For those of you not aware, Shields is a very large store, very much like an IKEA of barbecue. So they've got like 30 stores. So folks like me who have product being sold in Shields we are invited on a VIP basis to go out to Fargo once a year to train about 100 Shields employees, primarily managers, to cook against each other. So I'm so happy my team won last year. So I'm going to go back this year and try to train the new team and see if we can nail both the championship as well as the People's Choice.
Is this the one where you instruct but cannot do any on-hands cooking yourself? They have to do all of
Yes,
that.
I follow the rules. I do not touch the meat. I instruct and I teach them how to cook an award-winning thing. I cannot say if that was true for everybody.
No.
Last year it was brutal. We cooked in 20-degree weather in a blizzard in Fargo, and I'm from SoCal, so I'm not used to cooking in 20-degree weather in a blizzard. Blowing the what you call the snow drift is 10 feet high.
So have they moved that later in the spring? So maybe the weather will be a bit better.
No, they kept it in April, and I guess it's kind of a crapshoot, right? It could be sunny or it could be blizzard in April in Fargo, North Dakota. But it's all part of being a pitmaster. You got to be able to cook under all conditions. I just came from Panama, and it was like a 98 degrees and 100% humidity in the sun. So imagine trying to cook barbecue in the heat with 30 students running around in the sun. It was pretty brutal.
If you had to choose between the brutal cold or the brutal heat, which one would you pick? Or do you care?
I think I would take the heat. I still remember Memphis in May. I was with the John Willingham team, and we cooked like 1,800 slabs of ribs over 3 days in 100-degree heat, 100% humidity. It was so hot that we could only last 20 minutes. So every 20 minutes, the team of four would rotate into the trailer and cook, and then come out and pass out, and the next team would go in. So between the cold and the hot, I think I prefer hot.
Well, teaching classes, whether it's the one at Shields or the one that you had this past weekend, just the appeal of what's the most satisfying part of teaching others about live fire cooking?
Oh, it's simple. I'm happiest when other people are happy, but I'm happiest when I'm part of people's journey where they rise because of what I've done. I cannot tell you how many stories I've had of total strangers who come up to me on the street and say, "Hey, Harry, you don't know who I am, but I follow you and I watch your videos. And what you showed me online, I've been able to use to either win contests, make more friends, and spread barbecue love." So to me, the most rewarding part of my journey is to help other people succeed. And I think that more people should realize that the beauty of life is really not your happiness, but how happy other people are because of you.
Someone who's listening might be wondering how they can take one of your classes. Is it your website,
Yes,
slapyourdaddybbq.com?
please go to slapyourdaddybbq.com. The classes are posted. A lot of times they're sold out months in advance. So if you want, just go ahead and sign up early. I have students from around the world that come up to California, to Los Angeles to take the class. As far as I've had students as far as Africa, they come from Thailand. And I asked them, gosh, that's a long way to come. And they tell me, well, I went on the internet. I wanted to find the best barbecue instructor, and I picked you. I said, "Oh my God, I am not worthy." But people come from around the world to learn what they believe to be true, authentic American barbecue. There is a huge sense of Americana around the world. I've taught classes around the world, including even teaching the cartel in Cuyacan how to cook American barbecue. So there is a mystique, there is a fascination with American barbecue that we are one of the very few people in the world who cook low and slow, meats above ground for long periods of time. Most other places I go in the world, they cook kind of hot and fast grilling methods, direct heat. So I think that the American barbecue mystique has spread around the world, and I'm the beneficiary because I get asked by people to go overseas and teach. And I'll give you an example. I just came out of Panama. The Panamanians apparently are very, very skilled pitmasters, and all they do is tell me they watch my videos and they watch videos from what we do in America and they replicate everything exactly.
Oh, awesome. I'm sure this may vary by location, but is there something that most fascinates people about American barbecue, whether it be how we cook brisket or how we cook pork, or is it, I guess it just varies, doesn't it? But around the world.
It varies, but there's a universal kind of a theme. I'll give an example. When I was in Germany and I asked my host, what do you want me to cook? He said, well, everybody in Germany is crazy over American Texas style brisket. They're crazy over Memphis style ribs, and they're crazy over like California tri-tip. So I said, yeah, fine. Why don't I have 3 days of demos I have to do. Why don't I just cook those meats every day, repetitively and see what people like? And I was just amazed that when I made all those meats out in Cologne, Germany, everybody came to the booth to sample it. So there definitely a interest and mystique in brisket, ribs, and things like tri-tip.
Visiting with Harry Soo from Slap Your Daddy Barbecue here on the Tailgate Guys Barbecue Show podcast. Harry, the reruns of Barbecue Pitmasters are still on TV every now and then, and it's you're talking 14, 15 years old now. And
Yes.
are people still come up to you and say, "Hey, I saw you last weekend on Barbecue Pitmasters"?
I feel like that episode from I Love Lucy when she's stomping the grapes in black and white.
Right, right.
Yeah, soon I have to make an honorary version of Pitmasters in black and white because you're absolutely right. That people seem to associate me with that show for some reason, and I have many people who think that was shot last week, and I keep telling them that I'm much older than the person that appeared, and it's a classic. I think that people always tell me that show actually got them started in barbecue. And I feel really blessed that John Marcus, the producer who produced Barbecue Pitmaster, started that whole series because it got a lot of people onto barbecue. And some people even told me that that's like almost ground zero for the surge in popularity of American style barbecue was because that show kind of was the catalyst that kicked it all off.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks didn't know what competition barbecue was until they saw that show, myself included, and it really piqued the interest and hoping to try to do it someday. And
Yeah,
and
John
sure
Marcus
enough.
spent 2 years trying to sell that concept because it was such an expensive concept, right? To have a team of 16 to 20 people follow 7 teams around the country. So you can imagine the logistics and the cost of shooting that with no script and hoping that you could grab enough footage to make for an interesting 42 minutes per episode. Shooting 80 to 90 hours of footage just to cut it down to 42 minutes of usable content that would interest the viewers to create a show enough for advertisers to sponsor the show. So it was a huge gamble. And, John Marcus was a pioneer in that arena and he's an accomplished pitmaster. He knows everybody. And I actually, you guys know the show. I got on the show by accident. I wasn't meant to be on that show. And it was kind of very interesting that they picked me, a guy from SoCal. And they got me on a show with 3 world champions. I was like a total unknown, kind of like the fish out of water guy.
Well, there's a couple that stand out. The one where you're at the ranch where Johnny Trigg is hosting the rib shootout, and I think you win that, don't you?
I was completely blown away. I did not imagine that, being on the show with the world rib king, Johnny Trigg, 3 times world champion, Myron Mixon, Professor Tuffy Stone, the Yan, Jamie Gear, that I would actually be able to succeed. In fact, when we shot that episode, they had positioned us in kind of a ranch setting on a sloping hill. And everybody showed up with their offset smokers and their high-powered pits. And I just showed up in a little minivan with a couple of small little Weber Smoky Mountains. So I think the producers put me at the bottom of the hill because stuff flows downhill. So when they put me there, I said, okay, fine. I'm here in Texas, cooking against Johnny, who is the 3-time world rib champion. And what category of meat they gave us? Ribs, of all things. And then on top of that, the 4 judges, 2 master judges were from Texas. All 4 judges were from Texas. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll just cook my ribs, pack my bags, drive back to California. And then it was $500 from everybody's pocket because Myron wouldn't accept anything less than thousands of dollars just to fire up his pit. So we were all paid. Hey, everybody put $500 into the pot. Winner take all, no second place.
So I was wondering if that was just for the television thing they did, but that was real. Myron
That was
actually
real. That
said
was
that.
real.
Yeah.
It was as real as you can make it. I was surprised that the show had no script. Like I told you, all the footage was shot without any script. So can you imagine if you are an investor in such a series and you're putting in millions of dollars, right? We have 16 camera people and production crew travel across the country, these 7 teams for 3 months without knowing what the final result would be because there's no script. And you're just hoping to shoot all these random events. That's why they never made Pitmasters again. They only made it once. Pitmasters 2, 3, 4, 5, right? They were all more shot in a soundstage. Like they were shot in Burbank in a control setting where they could control the environment, control the costs. But Pitmasters was I was there, so I can tell you was shot really out in the wild, with really nothing out there except four camera crews running around shooting whatever footage they could get.
Well, the other one in regards to you at the on Pitmasters that stands out is at the American Royal where you're in the thunderstorm.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were in, actually we were in Mesquite in that one. We also in American Royal in the storm, and of course they put me right against another team that had a 300 people party
yeah.
with the music blaring for for 2 days.
I've been there. That's where kind of where our location thrill is by a big party. Although
Mhm.
it's at the Speedway, it's probably not quite the same rowdy atmosphere as you had at the Royal back where it was at the old stockyards then, right?
Yeah, the
Near,
whole story, yeah, the dark side.
yeah,
We had the dark side. Remember, the things will happen that you never tell people about. That was when the American Royal was a completely different energy than the one today. Today is very subdued, right? As you can probably attest, right?
right.
It's very
Yeah,
subdued, very controlled.
I never got to experience the old one. I wish I had, but yeah, I hear a lot of stories.
Oh, you're missing out
Maybe I don't.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
We would make the ribs, because we knew that after midnight we will be able to give the ribs out. You show me your rack, I'll show you mine. So you must have missed out some of that fun times.
Yes, yes, indeed. Hey, I was
Yeah, to
checking
mention
my
that on camera here.
yes. Checking my records, I last had you on the show here in the fall of 2022, right before that year's Royal. Now we talked about some of your you just gone into retirement from the water company. I think at that time you were talking about some goals that you had. One of them was to cook a steak into the Northern Lights. Have you been able to do that yet?
I have finished that goal thanks to Mike Bowles and the Alaskan Barbecue Association. You meet the nicest people on the barbecue circuit. Whether you are a friend or a competitor, a fellow pitmaster, restaurateur, or caterer, we are just a beautiful community of gypsies that go around the world. And Mike Bowles and his folks out in Canada, Alaska, was able to not even allow me to cook under the Northern Lights, but somebody went out and basically got me a musk ox ribeye. So for those of you not aware what a musk ox is, it's an Arctic bison, and not anybody can kind of harvest a Arctic bison. It requires special privileges and abilities. So anyway, they got me an Arctic bison. I was able to cook it on a little smoky Joe under the Northern Lights. So that was one of the highlights of my entire barbecue career. There's another one coming up because I have another goal now for the 2024. I want to be able to go to Iceland and cook a steak on lava. So if you see me out there in a little Amazon.com flaming suit, right? In a silver suit, trying to cook a
Hmm.
steak, I've not gone crazy because that's definitely on my bucket list. And then for any of your viewers out there listening to this podcast, if anybody knows how to make a telescopic tongue that's about 12 foot long, where I can use a telescopic tongue, bring it on the airplane, go open up the tongue to 12 feet, and then try to flip a steak onto lava, let me know. We can definitely talk.
Harry, how do you even come up with this idea? I mean,
I have no idea. I believe that in life is brief. You must live it with intensity. Never could have, never would have, never should have. I think, Lindo, you and I know people who have not made it so far. So for every day that you wake up, you need to wake up with gratitude. When you go to sleep at night, you got to go to bed at night with gratitude that you had that wonderful day, to be joyful. And that's really important. I think that as I get later in my years, I realize that your body can only go so far, and you gotta live it with intensity. And
well,
cooking a steak would be my idea of just having fun.
that's well said. How was that bison steak, by the way? Did it turn out good?
It's extremely gamey.
Gamey,
So
okay.
imagine the gamiest steak that you can eat. It's kind of like if you have you had moose before? It
No,
tastes like
sir.
moose.
Nope, nope, nope.
Okay. Anyway, just imagine let's see, like a very very strong uh like a venison. An old what's an old deer? What do you call an old deer?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I
Okay,
take
it's like that.
yeah. Well,
It
it
tastes like
is
that.
all about the experience, though. It's more than the taste.
Absolutely. I was in Alaska. They served me something called muktuk. So muktuk is a bowhead whale,
Hmm.
and it's eaten raw. So
Well,
what is interesting is that it comes almost like a pink slab of meat with a thick layer of blubber, of black blubber on it, and you eat it raw. So imagine eating. The best I can describe is like eating, pork bellies.
yes, sir.
Imagine eating a pork belly raw that tastes like alligator. That would be my description of how muktak tastes like.
I think I'd go for the medium rare before I'd go for the raw, but I guess that's the cultural thing.
Yeah, and I was told that you can't hunt whales unless you are a local Alaskan. So if you are an Alaskan resident, you can't even go and hunt the whale. You got to be one of the what I call the native Alaskans. They are allowed to go out to the ocean and hunt the whale and harvest the whale. And what is interesting is that the black blubber that you taste, the black blubber is very fibrous. And they tell me that in Alaska, they use the black blubber of the muktak as the teething ring for babies. So babies are born and they're given to the blubber to chew on, to teeth on. And I was just amazed at the kind of cultural depth and complexity of the people in Alaska in regards to barbecue. So they invited me back to cook in the Fairbanks Polar Challenge, and they're going to be cooking like, I don't know, minus 50 degrees. And I politely told them, no, I don't have any clothing that goes down to minus 50.
Goodness. Well, that's some interesting things they're doing for sure. Before we let you go, though, I did want to talk to you and have you let the folks know about your products, rubs and sauces. I know I know you talked about Shields earlier. Your stuff's there, but what can people find if they're looking for the Slap Your Daddy barbecue products?
Well, that's good news. For some stroke of good fortune, Jealous Devil, whom I private label my rubs to, Jealous Devil was able to get Home Depot to test drive my rubs. So Home Depot has 2,400 stores. So by way of quick story, I helped Jealous Devil do a demo for Home Depot to try to introduce the Jealous Devil charcoal into Home Depot a couple of years ago. And I drew out the plans to use the Home Depot cinder blocks to make a pit in the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas to cook the hog.
Oh, wow.
So I was out there as the pitmaster for Jealous Devil, helping Jealous Devil snare the deal with Jealous Devil by creating that pit, building a 5x3 pit, cooking a hog over 2 days. So what is interesting is that the CEO and the management team of Home Depot came to the Jealous Devil booth and ate the hog. So
Oh,
long story short, Jealous Devil scored the deal, and Jealous Devil's charcoal is now in 2,400 Home Depot stores. And then
awesome.
2 months ago, I was told that, hey, Harry, can you get your rub out because they want to test drive your rub. So for those of you listening to this podcast, my Slap Your Daddy rub, my chicken rub, beef rub, and all-purpose is now in 54 selected Home Depot stores. So if you can find my rub, please take a picture and post a video, and then I'll put it on my social media, and I'll pick 10 lucky people who posted those, and I'll send you gift packs, and I'll pick one to come to my class. How's that? So
Oh,
that would be
that's
something
awesome.
your listeners will want to do.
That's outstanding. We definitely will be giving that some extra promotion on our social media as well. But your social media channels are great follows. YouTube, Slap Your Daddy BBQ, hundreds of videos there. A great way to learn. You've talked about people all over the world have watched your videos and learned what this content creation. Did you ever think you'd become a content creator like you have? It's really some good stuff that you have out there.
It's again another accident. Just like everybody knows the story. I became an accidental pit master after the movie The Bucket List because my coworkers challenged me to cook one contest.
Hmm.
I cook one contest, I win it, I become a pit master, just like that. And one of my students in LA who took my class, he said, Harry, your knives are really dull. Why don't I teach you how to sharpen knives? Because I have a knife sharpening channel. At that point in time, I had not put on any videos out. So I went over to Ricky Tran's home and he showed me how to sharpen knives. And he asked me, hey, Harry, are you okay if I turn on the cameras? I said, what for? He said, you're just teaching me how to sharpen knives. He said, no, I have a knife sharpening channel and people might want to see us sharpening knives. I say, are you kidding me? Who wants to see two guys sharpening knives over 2 hours? Well, 50,000 people. So Ricky told me, hey, you cook barbecue. Why don't you just post your videos online? I say, Ricky, I don't know. I don't have a camera. I don't know how to post video. He said, no, you just shoot it in your cell phone. You just post that content online. So I shot some of this footage of me cooking and I posted the raw footage online, not expecting anything to happen. Today I have 200,000 subscribers. So it's totally insane. I've become an accidental content creator.
Well, you certainly do a good job. And we saw you shooting with the iPhone at the Royal a couple of years ago. Are you any plans to come back to the Royal this year?
I am trying to see what will happen in the calendar. The calendar is actually filling up really fast this year. So I hope I'm able to do that. I was so privileged that Weber invited me to guest cook on their team last year, and I helped them go on stage in the Royal. So my happiness today is really helping other people become successful. Because I've won so many awards already. I just finished clearing out the garage of my trophies. I had like 500-600 trophies in the garage. I decided, I don't need these trophies anymore because I have the memories and the energy from those trophies. I need to give them away. So I had one of my friends, Armando Arod, who is a USMC Marine, and he runs the kind of the PTSD suicide prevention group for the Marines. So I donated all my trophies to him. So we took them all apart. He's going to reassemble the trophies now to help veterans who are having mental challenges, using the trophies to kind of to elevate their spirit. So for me, that's really a good use for all my trophies. I don't need all these trophies. I have all these great memories, and that's all I really need to do is help other people become successful. And that's kind of my goal. For the rest of my life, I want to focus on only doing three things as a retiree. I want to love you, I want to feed you, and I want to serve you. That's all I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Well, good stuff. Follow Harry on all his social media outlets, Facebook, all of them, the YouTube channel, Slap Your Daddy BBQ, lots of good stuff there. But Harry, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We certainly look forward to hopefully seeing you at the Royal. It'll be on Halloween weekend this year, so it could be a little bit weird out there. It could be little bit strange at the Speedway.
Definitely will come and visit you when I can.
Harry, thank you so much, man. That we
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Bye. That'll take us to a break. Tailgate Guys Barbecue Show continues right after this.